when you're following your guidance, this idea of you needing to be perfect just gets thrown out the window. It's no longer true. You don't have to be perfect. If you are anything like me, you grew up in a world that was very programmed by matrix ideas. And the matrix are all of the ideas that we're not good enough, we're not worthy, there's lack all around us. There's never going to be enough for everyone. And you simply aren't one of those chosen ones that gets the things. So the opposite worldview, a worldview of abundance where there is enough for all of us, is what's actually true for each of us, because we are each God, source, the entire universe embodied here in physical form, having an experience where we feel separate. Now, the really cool thing about this experience where we feel separate is that we get to discover these connections of love with others, because when we are part of oneness, when we are not here in the physical, we feel that full connection to all that is, and it's the one thing we can't experience in the non-physical. So for us to come here, it's all about finding these experiences that we can't have when we're fully one. So one of these experiences that we're here to have is bringing our soul mission to life. And our soul mission is whatever our individual soul has come here to do. And usually it stretches across many, many, many lifetimes. So this thing, you're not going to know exactly what to do, but what you're going to feel in the beginning are these inklings, these pulls. And you're going to feel periods where you experience this feeling of flow. And the feeling of flow can easily be described as you get lost in an activity where you lose track of time. And when you look at a clock, you'll realize maybe hours have gone by, but it felt like just a few minutes to you. That's when you were accessing universal flow and you were really living as you were meant to live. So those sorts of experiences also give us an inkling about what we're here to do. When you have an idea what you're being guided to do, here's where all the matrix programming comes in and just kind of like pummels you. What it does, it tells you, you have to do this perfectly if you want to succeed. Now, the crazy thing is, if you're living in matrix programming, and you're taking action only on the things that you're seeing in the matrix, that means ignoring your own inner guidance, your own intuition, your nudges, then often you do actually have to do things perfectly. And you can think of this easily as like when you were a kid in school. You had to do things very, very well to a high level of exactness or perfectness to get an A. Right? And this is because the matrix is programming you to be a cog in a machine, not to be a creative individual living in the flow of the universal creative energy, but instead to do things following someone else's step-by-step method. Now, this always leads to misery because it's tamping down what your unique soul came here to do. So the first thing we have to recognize is, am I trying to do something that's not coming from my truth, that's not coming from my inner guidance and my inner voice? Am I trying to do something because I think that this is the way I should do it or it should be done? And if that's where you're coming from, you need to stop, pause, and reevaluate what you're taking action on and redirect some of your energy into what you're feeling guided to within. If you are not following your guidance and you're trying to do things in matrix land that are matrixy, that are following somebody else's step-by-step blueprint, you do have to follow it to a high degree of exactness to get that A, to receive success. But the crazy thing is, and this is what this video is about and we're going to talk about, is that when you are following your inner guidance, all of that gets thrown out the window. You no longer have to achieve things perfectly to succeed. And in fact, it's the exact opposite, because the universe is also going to need you to learn certain lessons to continue to climb higher and higher into success in your soul mission. So you're going to be led to some failures as well. And that's really what I want to show you today, is how when you're following your guidance, this idea of you needing to be perfect just gets thrown out the window. It's no longer true. You don't have to be perfect. This idea came to me to talk about this in the shower today because I had just sent out my weekly guidance email, which if you are not subscribed to my weekly guidance, click the link below and sign up, because it is literally going to be the best email you receive all week, every single week. When I sent out my weekly guidance email today, I included a link to my new podcast, We Are All God, which, by the way, I am so excited about. It's absolutely incredible. When I sent it out, I then clicked on the link, and I don't do a lot of editing, right? This weekly guidance, it flows out of me in flow, and it usually comes out in about 15 or 20 minutes. I really don't edit it. I go through and I check for any errors in spelling, and then I send it out. So that's because I am literally pulling from universal energy, and I am pulling from God's source within me. And so it's not me, Erin, that's creating this. So it does not have to be perfect. In fact, it will speak to other souls on the soul level, because I'm not trying to be perfect, because I'm trusting the crazy things that come and drop in for me, and I'm just immediately sharing them with no like pauses in the flow. So I sent it out, and then I go click on the podcast link that I had sent out, and I see, oh my gosh, it's not linking to like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Amazon Music and all the places that I want it to show up, right? You can just see it on the podcast feed that I signed up for, and of course on YouTube as well. So I'm like, oh, that's not how I wanted this to go, right? I wanted people to be able to go to Apple Podcasts or whatever, because I didn't do a lot of research before creating this podcast, because I just was guided to do it, so I did it. But I did see this guidance, no, I shouldn't call it guidance, this instruction from a Google search, that when you're launching your podcast, you have to have a big launch for it to be successful and for it to do well on the Apple Podcasts, because they're looking for like the big new podcasts, right? And when I saw that, I immediately disregarded it as not true. And I don't have to worry about that, and it doesn't matter. And so I'm able to make this mistake of sort of soft launching my podcast to my email list and to YouTube without it being perfect. And it's not this devastating thing where I'm feeling like, oh, I made this huge mistake. Oh no, I messed up. What do I do? I don't have to feel that way, because I know that I'm simply being led further and further into the right direction. Versus old Erin of the past would have felt this deep shame and be blaming myself, and how did I make this mistake? And oh no, this isn't good enough. It's not going to work. I know it does not matter at all. It's simply my job to continue to show up and follow my guidance. And any mistakes are simply additional guidance, letting me know what else needs to be done or taken care of. So I know this without a shadow of a doubt. So I'm on there today, signing up for the Apple Podcasts and the Spotify and the Google Podcasts and all the different podcasts, so that my podcast feed will link to those. And so now it's being taken care of. But why don't I care? Why do I know it does not matter what my launch is like, even though everybody else on the internet is teaching this is the most important thing? I'm happy to share that with you. Because for the launch of my book, One Truth, One Law, I Create, I had no social media following. No one had ever heard of me. And I sold 15 copies of my book at 99 cents each on Amazon in those first 2 weeks. and it was mostly sold to friends and family. And I also had done about 3 months of research on self-publishing, because I did self-publish my book. And every single resource I read around self-publishing said the launch is all that matters. That if you don't have a big launch, the book's never going to do well. That you must have a big launch. And that's exactly what they're telling people about podcasts. Now, again, 15 sales in the first 2 weeks of One Truth, One Law, I Am, I Create. And then going into the next month, 0 sales. So my launch, by anyone's standards, for One Truth, One Law, I Am, I Create, was a ginormous failure. Or was it? Maybe I don't have to do things the way matrix programming tells me I have to do things, because I'm following my inner guidance. My inner guidance said the launch doesn't matter. You just keep going, keep talking about your book, keep putting yourself out there, and the book will take off. So I did this. I ignored everything that everybody else was saying about book publishing. And I kept talking about it. That was it. And here's what's happened now 4 years later. I have sold hundreds of thousands of copies of this book. Almost 1 million people have listened to the audiobook. So it doesn't matter. All the things that tell you you have to do things perfect, it's not true. You do not have to be perfect when you are moving in the direction of your soul mission. But what you do have to do is continue to show up. Now, I was not perfect any step of the way. I've made so many mistakes. I just keep going. And sometimes I need to rest after a mistake, and that's okay. Believe me, in the last 4 years, I have way more mistakes than I have wins. But I keep going in the direction that I am guided. That's the key. When you are following your guidance instead of living by the matrix programming, you just keep going. There are no real failures. Failure is all based on matrix programming. The fact that someone could fail. You can't fail. That's the truth, the abundance frequency truth, is that you can't fail. Instead, you learn lessons. You're guided to lessons, and these lessons help make you stronger and more powerful, more resilient. You can't fail. The only time you fail is when you ignore your guidance. That's it. That's what failure looks like, because ignoring your guidance keeps you within the matrix. And you came here to be one of the humans within the collective who chose to break free of the matrix, to essentially shatter the matrix for the entire collective. Because once we reach critical mass, a certain number of souls that are no longer abiding by matrix programming, but instead are trusting their inner guidance wherever it leads them, the matrix will completely shatter, and it will lose its control over the entire collective, even those who haven't been following their guidance. You came here to free humanity. You wouldn't be watching this video if this wasn't true for you. There's not a doubt in my mind about that. So all it takes is following your guidance, and you get to do that from the place of knowing it does not have to be perfect. Now, I want to share with you another example of me not being perfect. And this was the first year after I published One Truth, One Law, I Am, I Create. So it was in 2020. And my children were very young. My son was, he was under 1, and my daughter was 2. And they needed me constantly. And I co-slept with them. Like, I was with these children constantly. Like, there was no break. There was no break. When I went to the bathroom, I didn't shower unless my husband was home from work. And this was just life. So I did not have like this perfect time during the day when I could shoot YouTube videos. It didn't exist for me. My husband was often working 80-hour weeks. It just was not realistic. So what I did was I would wake up at 2 a.m. when the children were sound asleep and would not be woken up by me making a video. And I would get out of bed, still wearing my pajamas, no makeup on, my hair just back in a ponytail or whatever. Here's a picture of this. And I would make a YouTube video and I would publish it because there were things I was being guided to say. And no, this was not a perfect situation. It didn't matter. And in fact, I want you to know something crazy about this. People came and signed up for my courses and they said to me, "You're so real. You make me believe I can do this. If you can do this with little kids, I can do this too." And it kind of blew my mind because I had all these fears and doubts, like I'm not good enough, I don't look good enough. Once I even got a wig and put a wig on because I thought that would be better if I'm waking up at 2 a.m. Maybe at least my hair will look nice. But that felt so inauthentic, I never did it again. But I really liked what came through, so I left the video up. So you can see that here too. But the point is, so many times I tried to do things more perfectly, and that never worked as well as the times when I was just real. And yes, right now I have makeup on, my hair's done, I'm wearing a dress and I feel beautiful. But I have taken the time to embody the energy of this me right now. This is who I really am. I have embodied my feminine energy and I have taken the action I've been guided to with my children so that they love playing. They love it and they don't need me every second of the day anymore. And they've also gotten older. They're 4 and 6 now. So I can come in here and record a video. And after that, I'm going to go make my breakfast and then I'm going to homeschool my kids for 2 or 3 hours. And then I'm going to go answer comments in my courses for the people who have been guided to go deeper into this inner work with me. And I am going to do all of these things and I'm still me. And I'm not perfect. And that's okay. And so the point is, you get to do whatever it is you're guided to do without any need to be perfect. What is holding everybody back from living the life of their dreams is this idea the Matrix pours into us that we need to be perfect. And it's not true. Yeah, there's a lot more people out there that look perfect doing these things than don't. But we've all seen the people, me included, because I've just shown you the screenshots of the people who don't look perfect doing these things. You are meant for incredible things on this earth. And you can also have this life that feels so good to you. Truly, in many ways, 4 years ago when I was recording those videos, wearing my pajamas and no makeup and my hair in a ponytail, you know what? I felt a lot more comfortable that way than I would have like this. In order for me to embody my feminine energy and start feeling like it was safe and comfortable and true and authentic for me to feel beautiful, I had to release so much from the past, so many fears and doubts about my own worth. And I'm telling you whatever you wished that you were experiencing right now, you can have all of it, every single drop of it. You can squeeze life for every single drop and have it all. I can remember a year and a half ago, I wrote down, I have a sexy body. And I was so far from that, right? I was 50 pounds heavier than I am now. And I just felt kind of not that way. And I have fully embodied it because I chose it. And I kept going in the direction the guidance led me in. That's all our job is. Our job is not to understand how in the world we could go from where we are now to this amazing, magical place. That's not our job. Our job is to say, okay, I trust, and I'm going to go wherever I'm led on a daily basis. That's our job. And our job is also to say, this is where I want to go. Because, as I have said so many times, your life is like an airplane. And if you don't pick a destination, if you don't write down, I want that sexy body, or I want a multi-million-dollar business, if you don't write it down, then you're going to spin in circles. The guidance doesn't have anywhere to tell you to go. But if you write it down and you say, this is where I'm going, this is who I really am, you will be guided. You will be guided. You're always guided. And you are so, so, so loved.